Welcome to this week's Cruise Chat. I'm Kathleen Penner, owner of Plenty of Sunshine Travel. And today for our Cruise Chat, we are meeting with Charmaine, and Charmaine is from Tauck Cruises. I am very excited to meet with you again. I'm so happy to have you back. I've met with you, goodness, but 3 or 4 times at least. What I've done for all the cruise lines I meet is I have a playlist. So be sure to head over to my YouTube channel and check out that playlist. But today we are talking about small ship cruising. So over to you.
Great. Thanks, Kathleen. And yes, it has been a few times over the last couple of years. Kind of helped us get through these interesting times. And we're still in interesting times, just different now as the world continues to evolve. But it is wonderful to see that everyone's getting back out on the road and ships are sailing and people are having a wonderful time. And so we're pretty excited about that. So yeah, we've talked about different programs that we do at Tauck over the last couple of sessions. And today we're going to focus more on our small ship program. And as some people may know, they think of Tauck probably more for our land journeys. And certainly we've talked about river and some of the other stuff. But we have some really great partnerships. And so the key always with Tauck is that we don't own any of these ships. We don't own hotels. We don't own our coaches for that matter. So it's really about working with wonderful partners. And we've been so pleased to have a great relationship with Penant for many, many years because they're also a family owned and operated company. So Tauck, of course, is still owned and operated by the Tauck family. And that's the charming Arthur Tauck Jr., who recently celebrated his 90th birthday.
Wow. Congratulations. My goodness, and happy birthday. Amazing.
I know. Yeah. He spoke at our last company meeting and he's still just an incredible force within the company. So, so it's a great quote that he gave as we're the Tauck family. They're all a group of sailors. I'm sure he doesn't get out too often anymore now on his sailboat, but was a very active, participated in the America's Cup, I believe, one year. So, so really, ultimately, I think what we've always strived for at Tauck is to really focus on our guests, their destination experiences, and looking for those elements that really bring that to life. So I think it's just, again, just stressing our philosophy as a company of how we like to do things and what makes us unique and special out there. And so small ships really came about. I mean, the company started in 1925, but we really didn't get into offering small ships until 1993. So just shy of 30 years ago now, I guess. We're getting next year.
That's crazy to think the 90s was 30 years ago. Goodness.
I know.
I'm getting old.
93 was when my youngest daughter was born. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
I was married in 92. So yeah. Same thing. Yep. Crazy.
And so even the Treasures of the Mediterranean that you see there on the cover of the original brochure, we still offer. It's been an altered itinerary, but a lot of that I'll show you the current itinerary here shortly. So, and as I've said over and over the years, I think what really speaks to what sets Tauck apart is the fact that we are still very much family owned and operated. 4th generation has started their internship. The 3rd generation, they got us through it. Arthur Tauck Jr. reminded all of us that his dad during the Second World War had to shut down for 5 years. For the war effort. And he began a war chest when things started up after that, just to enable the company to survive should something like that. Obviously, he was hoping not for war, but for any reason that might happen. And so, that really sustained us. Obviously, we had to make some changes and cutbacks like everyone did, but we've been able to survive intact and are happy that really since January of 21 we were able to get back on the road and certainly cruising started up last summer. So
it's good to be back.
Right. And ultimately what Arthur believed in back in 1925, including more things, taking focusing on everyone as an individual and giving them what they're looking for, and then just to have a really good time. And enjoy each other's company and learn things and really expand, how we look at the world. So that's what we still like to do today. So with our small ship program, it's really a great combination because, as I said, we work with different companies and we're going to focus on Penant. But Penant obviously offers cruises very similar to what you'll see. We're not always a full charter. A lot of times in fact, I would say the vast majority of the time, we have group space blocked on these ships. So certainly you and your clients can look at, what Penant offers. But what we bring to the table is is our focus and experience that we do on land.
Yes.
And so that's really a great combination of taking their
Mhm.
cruising, putting it with our land experience, and the long relationships. The
Yes.
relationship with Penant has gone on long before I ever joined the company. And they're also family owned and operated. And then again, we include more things typically than what the cruise lines are doing.
Mhm.
And we've got our team of tour directors. So depending on the itinerary, 2, 3, or 4 directors
Yes.
that'll be traveling with everybody. So yeah, so it's really, as I said, a combination of offering the wonderful things about cruising, but also giving you a great combination of what we are able to do on land.
Mhm.
And we offer different types. Some of our itineraries tend to focus more on the cultural aspects. They're more historical in that aspect. And so there's lots of different ones. And I'll show you a few itineraries today that focus more on that end of it. And then, of course, what I think has really by nature of what's occurred over the last 2 years, people want to get outside and
Yes.
maybe not be around people and
Mhm.
see more of nature. And so we've got some wonderful and more adventure type expeditions as well too, including Antarctica that you can see in that
Mhm.
wonderful photo. But ultimately, I think as well, what really adds to the icing on the cake, I think really with Tauck, is our incredible team of tour directors. So here's 4 of them here, and they really, they just take care of everybody from beginning to end. So, it's great sometimes when you're on a ship and you've got, the cruise director, but they're looking after, potentially anywhere from hundreds to thousands of people.
Mhm.
Whereas our Tauck directors are just looking after our,
Yeah.
group of guests, whether that's 40 people or 100, but we'll have
Mhm.
a team of them who work together to make sure that, if something happens or something
Mhm.
changes, and as we all know in this day and age, that happens pretty
It can.
regularly.
Yeah. And it's nice to get that individualized attention as well. So
Exactly,
perfect.
exactly. And, it really is. And I've sailed with a couple of people in the photo, so I know what they bring to it. And that really does. Again, sometimes, it's even just their knowing where the ATM machines are
Mhm.
and when paying for the bathroom stops, which often is a key thing when you're in a country where you might not have the right change.
Yes.
So ultimately, always with Tauck, especially on water with our small ship program, we include absolutely everything. So gratuities, the transfers, all of their excursions, choices of excursions. We've included more over the years of active choices for people who want to maybe do more as opposed to see more.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the things that happen on the ship, the dining experiences and so on and so forth, they're all included as well, too. So really, other than the air to get there, that's it, and shopping.
Perfect. So
Yeah,
you're not going to get that bill at the end and that, how much is this going to end up
exactly.
costing? And it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you and I did a presentation, maybe the last one, the one before, where we talked about what does all-inclusive mean. And I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
that all-inclusive means that at the end of the trip, you don't have that really big bill. And sometimes
Right.
that can be more than you paid. You might see an ad for something that sounds an amazing price in advance,
Mhm.
but by the time you add everything in,
Yes.
you're
Yep.
often at a much higher
Yeah.
than
I think
someone
about
might
that
have.
too with discount airlines, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh wow, what a great first price. But by the time you're done and you've paid for your seat and your bags and you're this and you're paying the same as you would as if you were going on a large carrier.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
it's nice
Yeah.
not to have all those little things that add up.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And I think, I read somewhere that some airline was looking to make a stand-up option as a less expensive way to fly. And I thought, oh, good Lord,
No.
now you're paying for a seat and you're not even getting a seat. But
Yeah. Oh my
anyway, I
goodness.
hope that went to the wayside, but I do remember reading that a few years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, exactly as I said, lots of
Mhm.
different choices, and we've evolved over the years. And 90 days prior to departure, you get your list of different choices, and we have our
Mhm.
classic ones that we've done for many years. But again, more and more people want to be more active or just go further into a destination because it may be someplace they've been already. So they don't want sort of the traditional sightseeing choices. They want to see something that they haven't, already seen. And then, as I said, we do tend to, we on almost all, with the exception of one really small ship program, we include hotel stays, pre, post, or at least one end. And Iceland, I think, is really the only one where we don't, but we have a day room that people need to use sometimes before their flights home. So we do include that. But yeah, it really, again, just adds to the journey. And again, what separates us from what other people are doing out there. So just sort of quickly showing you some of the most popular ones, pretty straightforward. I think most people would think about Iceland as been hugely popular. I mean, it's awful to say sometimes that a volcano put a destination on the map, but that's really what happened with Iceland many years ago, right? When everybody sort of was paying attention and suddenly everybody wanted to see it after. So it sells out really fast. The Venice Dalmatian coast, I'll show you what that looks like. Antarctica coast goes without saying. And then the Hidden Galapagos in Peru is actually the only one on the list here that we don't use, sail with Ponant. That one's actually on Silver Sea. So everything else I'll show you today, though, is going to be with Ponant. So I'm just going to shift or can I shift these? Do you mind if I just move that over a little bit? Go ahead. Just because so you can see the map.
Yes.
And I can put them back up in a minute, depending on how the slide
it didn't even
works,
affect at my end, so no worries.
Oh, perfect. So I just wanted to show you this is the Treasures of the Mediterranean. So this was actually the very first itinerary that we offered in 1993. A few changes over the years. I've actually gotten the opportunity to sail on the second version of this itinerary. So it's changed again since I went on it. And so it is lovely. It either starts or ends in Malta, which is just a really incredibly historical country. It's been invaded by literally everybody at some point in history. And then sailing around with a few stops in Sicily. And sometimes you'll see some of these ports like Taormina, perhaps on other itineraries. But what you have to keep in mind is that with our small ship, we're able to dock much closer. And so you have less time traveling on a coach. You're not sitting for hours, right? So again, that's one. And then the fact that, you don't look like an invasion yourself, because literally you're just the Ponant ship, the largest one. This one I think is smaller still. I think it's only 60 or 65 guests. But even the largest ship that does Antarctica is 220 people at the most. So it's never, And so again, I think for people that, want to go more in depth to a destination, but also travel with, maybe not hundreds of their closest friends. So.
Hundreds or even thousands.
Right. Exactly. Really so again, exactly. So you can get into these wonderful little ports that you just won't see on other itineraries. So this is really a nice one. And as I said, it goes in both directions there as well. So this is another one still continues to be one of the most popular itineraries we offer, with a couple of nights at a beautiful hotel in Venice, and then 7 nights sailing along the Dalmatian coast with Dubrovnik and Korčula and Split, but also to Qatar, but Hvar, which is this wonderful little island that, again, you can't really get to with any of the bigger ships. Sometimes they can do the other ones, but and again, lots of different choices. When I did this one, I know one of our favorite was an olive oil tasting, and again, just spending time with a small it's not a vineyard, what do you call it, an olive grove, and learning how the family has, it's been in their family for generations, and just sort of learning and tasting. And I didn't really think about kind of how you have to roll it on your tongue. Anyway, I won't do that. I'll probably look at the video. But amazing, but it's a really anyway, so lots of different choices. And Dubrovnik, of course, which everyone visits on most of the sailings that do that area. But the key too as well is that we're docked well into the night, so then you can actually get off and enjoy it after the crowds have left, walk the wall, and of course anyone who is a oh my gosh, now I just forgot the Game of Thrones fan. This whole area, was it? I never watched the show, but I saw enough pieces of it. But everywhere you go, there are little things telling you, and of course the guides point out where they film certain things, and But even if you're not, you just sort of know that you stepped into a really interesting part of history and modern day history, because of course this is the former Yugoslavia for those of us that have been around since the 70s. So we'll leave that. Really popular one, goes without saying. I mean, this is just you may have been to Scotland and been to Edinburgh or Glasgow, but to be able to sail around the islands is just a whole new element to seeing Scotland. And so again, here we still include, anchoring it with the two cities, but you get to sail around the Shetlands, the Orkneys, over to the Isle of Lewis, and again, just to see it from the sea. It's just
and the big ships, they're just not going to get into all those little inlets. So
no, exactly.
Really the small ship experience is so different and so wonderful.
Yeah. And the other thing too to say to that is that sometimes when people think of an expedition or a smaller ship, they think they're not going to have, the dining, they're not going to have the same, and I'll show you the ships here in a minute, but you still have that incredible dine. Ponant is a French-owned company. I mean, the family that own it, they own Gucci. I mean, they've worked with some of the most incredible chefs to, bring that element to the dining experiences. So yes, you don't have 12 different choices of places to eat every night, but the food is going to be amazing. The wine is wonderful. I mean, it's French. So, and again, they'll bring in some local elements, of course, but not to think that they have to compromise, what they may be accustomed to when they sail.
And my thoughts to that is you don't need all the restaurants. You need a diversified menu.
Correct.
So you don't need all the locations. You just need the menu to change, which it obviously does because they're pulling in those elements.
Absolutely. And so here is the amazing Iceland itinerary, which really, as I said, goes in depth to give you that an experience on an island that is just so amazing. And then what we've done as well too, because of course on most every itinerary we have local experts that are on the ships, but we've made a partnership with this gentleman, Tim Martin. Occasionally he's also been on our Antarctica, but I noticed for 23 he is doing he'll be on 2 sailings on Iceland to give that added extra level. Not only is he an incredible wildlife photographer, but he is also a great speaker, and so he's going to be on a couple of sailings with us. So it's an added advantage to be able to get him. He is world renowned. He's worked with the BBC. He's worked for a number of different companies. So I've not met him, but any guests I've talked to that have say he really just, again, it's just giving you that little extra something when you when you're visiting a place that you don't want to miss out on. So
you'll have to go on one of those dates and meet him then.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. Here's Antarctica. This is truly what a lot of people consider the big bucket list itinerary, where you get to sail from Ushuaia down into Antarctica. It's a limited amount of dates. They're traditionally December. There's a couple of sailings, and then January, and then early Feb. And of course, we also include staying in Buenos Aires for a few days so that you get to experience all of that, which is obviously one of the most incredible cities. And again, the penguins are the cutest things ever, and the whales, and the icebergs. It's just I do hope that when people go, obviously some people do it because it's the 7th continent and that perhaps are adding it to their list, but I do know that people come away with just a greater appreciation and understanding of what's going on in our with the environment in the world and climate change. You really get to see firsthand but what we're doing to save these things, right? And then historically, so they literally just earlier this year found now my brain's gone dead. One of the gentlemen that first went to Antarctica, they found his ship. They thought it was crushed completely in the ice, but they actually were able to find it.
That's fun. That's neat.
It'll come to me.
It will.
Yeah,
if you're like me, it'll come to you in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. But if you Google it,
yes, absolutely.
And crossing the Drake, of course, is one reason that I know some people hesitate to go to Antarctica. But I can tell you that the ships that we use here are the 3 larger ships in the Ponant fleet, so 220 guests. But they're built and designed to handle the Drake Passage. So they really help absorb the rolling, because it definitely can be, the waters can be rough, but the ship is really designed to handle that. And there's not much goes on, because it takes about a day and a half, roughly, to cross the passage. So, there you can just sort of relax. If you don't feel like getting out of bed because maybe your stomach's not so great, you can sit in bed, you can order some room service and watch whatever lectures are going on the television in your room. So you're not missing out on anything. You can see out the window and take in what's going on, but really it's mostly just waves for the first while and some birds.
Just
and
ocean.
some birds. But
yeah,
exactly. Anyway, but that's fabulous, and I encourage everyone to have a look.
Yes.
So this itinerary, I don't know, we've sort of called it new. It's not really new. We had it for a while, but we weren't able to run it for a couple of years, obviously. But also, I think Ponant maybe wasn't operating a ship in the Panama. So another great way to sail through the passage or through the canal, full transit, and again on a smaller ship. So combining it with Costa Rica and Panama, so two very cool countries, and you get to go to San Blas Island. So some really fun things to see, and a warm and sunny flip from Antarctica. Now we've just gone a little further north. This one is new. We definitely, I think we looked at operating it a few years back, and then that COVID thing happened, so things got shelved for a while.
That was a pain, wasn't it?
But again, for people maybe that have been to lots of different places, this is a great way to spend time in a very interesting, diverse, between Oman and Qatar, and really be able to incredible lectures on this itinerary. Again, more of a history, cultural aspect, as opposed to the Panama and Antarctica, which are more expedition type cruising. So for people that are looking for something a little bit different, I know some of the tour directors who have worked this when we did a land journey, and they are so excited to get back into this area where they, again, it's great about travel is about opening our minds and learning about different cultures and parts of the world that we are still somewhat mysterious, maybe, to some of us here in North America. So another fabulous one. So as I said, Ponant is who we've been focusing on today, and I'll show you some of their ships. These are our other three partners. So Metropolitan is who we use in the Galapagos as well. We have Silver Sea in the Galapagos. Also now we have a new Alaska itinerary with them, and another Eastern Canada trip that'll be coming out in 23. And then Windstar, we have a couple of itineraries with them in the Aegean and Spain and Portugal. So here's the ship that I talked about for Antarctica. So this is the Boreal, and she has two sister ships, L'Austral and the L'Ariel. Everything's so as I said, it looks bigger, I think, than she really is, but with 220 people, you've got lots of space that you can kind of, find your little spot to chill and hang out, and still give you all the amenities. There's a spa. There's lots of wonderful spaces to see and do and experience. And then the dining, of course, as well, too. So.
Because you can't go on a cruise without thinking about the dining.
Yes, exactly.
Not possible.
Food and drink. It's what keeps me going places. And then here's what the Explorer ship. So small, not just smaller, but 180 guests. You can see the pool there at the back of the ship, which is or the stern is a really funky kind of way for those ones to have. And again, just some other sort of unique things. And they literally named the series of the Explorer ships after explorers. So you'll see, of course, generally with a French connection, since they are owned by a French company. But so those are very, as I said, and all of them have a very modern sort of feel to it, but not too much. I know, I'm not sure really. I guess everyone's take on architecture is a bit different, but what I like about it, it's very contemporary, suits sort of where we're sailing with them, but not too flashy. So it's got some funky little art things like this, but not installations.
So classy, not flashy. Yep, absolutely.
There we go. Classy, not flashy. That's it. And so here's an example of one of the staterooms, and you can see there the balcony with the sliding windows, because of course in some destinations. I'm just going to stop for a glass of water.
I love that makeup mirror in the back. That's a nice LED
Right?
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, they've got different choices, and they've got suites, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I have a photo of one. So here's one on the Boreal that you can actually have two suites adjoining each
Okay.
other.
Yeah.
And then, just to kind of have one as a more of a sitting area, the other one is a sleeping, and
Mhm.
all the other little bells and whistles, of course, come in there. And you've got, as I said, mentioned earlier, if you're not up to going to hear the lecture itself, you can always watch it from your room with a cup of coffee, or maybe you're just running late that morning.
Yes.
Whatever it might be, we don't want you to miss. And they get recorded as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some entertainment. It's not flashy like it would be, again, because the focus of Small Ships is the destination as opposed to the ship. But there's always a few things on board, some jazz performances or things like that, again, to kind of enhance what you're doing as opposed to being the focus of it. So it's still got all of those things, including movies. So there's a better shot of that little pool with the glass window. Yeah, it's kind of a neat, and it's a great spot to sit, right? And if you've got maybe a bit of a windier day, but a beautiful sun shining, it's a great spot to sit. And then those that want to jump in and go for a swim.
Nice.
So again, just as a reminder that, everything is included with the choices of excursions, literally everything from start to finish on any ship, with the exception really if you buy something in the gift shop and then your air to get there. So, or perhaps if you've got your eye on a very special bottle of wine that isn't on the list that we're including, then you can certainly opt to do that. But truly, we really, it goes back again to Arthur in 1925, is that we just don't want to take you out of the moment. So it's really about staying focused, staying on the trip itself, as opposed to, that's going to be another $20, or that's going to be $500 or whatever, because you do have to think about it. This way, it's just a matter of going, well, let's do this or let's do that. And those are funner choices. So, so let me see if this
looks like they're
work.
Drinking glacier water there too. They're all
right.
Are they drinking glacier water? That would be so lovely.
I think it's champagne, to be honest.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But it might be a Bergy bit. So sometimes what they can do is scoop up little tiny bits of ice. At least I've done that in Newfoundland. Maybe it's not ecologically good anymore to do it.
Picture. Yeah.
So I'll show you the video, Kathleen. We'll see if that's going to work here. And it's just a nice little...
Why do we travel? Why is every horizon line a calling? We pioneered small ship cruising because as a family of sailors, we know that some of the most incredible places on Earth are best explored by water. And while the world has never been smaller, it still begs to be experienced firsthand. To walk in someone else's shoes, to eat what they eat, to see what they see. This is Tauck Small Ship Cruising. Here, latitudes and longitudes are more than just places on a map. They're a state of mind, a state of being. Part seascape, part landscape. Pure awe. With Tauck, you don't just visit a destination, you journey into its very heart and soul. And the greatest luxury is to travel in good company. So come aboard, seek out, stay curious, and put a little distance between yourself and everything you know. For in the end, this is why we travel. Tauck Small Ship Cruising. How you see the world matters.
So there certainly were a couple of destinations I missed in the chat. So we do also offer Japan. And unfortunately, I know there was a shot there of the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. So we're not going to Russia for all the obvious reasons. But hopefully that will settle itself down very soon. But yeah, again, it's like anything. And often, too, will make changes every year because, you know, Ponant only has so many ships in their fleet. And so, you know, sometimes, like, for example, with Alaska, we did it one year, but then we didn't offer it for a year because their ships were doing other things. So we don't offer everything that they do in their itineraries, but we really work on selecting ones that, I mean, as I've mentioned before, we're razor focused on what our guests are looking for. Arthur Tauch still reads the comment card report every week. He's back doing his job again. And so we know what our guests are looking for because they tell us. And so, you know, and the key then is always finding the right partners to be able to bring it to life in the Tauch way. And ultimately that's really what we're all about. So
lovely. Wow. I love that. Amazing. Yeah. So thank you so much for putting all that together. That was just fabulous. And I loved learning about, you know, how you bring the destination on all that experience that you have with the destination on a cruise ship as well. Right. So it's amazing. And I mean, the transportation to the destination is just as lovely sometimes as going. So
exactly. So it's a great combination and a great fit. As we like to say that. We can work I
love family-owned companies. That's just something, you know, that really resonates with me. And I think it's wonderful that you're partnering with a family-owned company too.
Absolutely. So, well, that's great. Yes. Well, thanks, Kathleen, for having me again. And if anybody has questions, they know where to find you and you know where to find me. So
yes, great. And I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye. Thanks. Thank you so much for watching this week's Cruise Chat with Charmaine from Tauch. It was really nice to see the destinations that they go to see all of the inclusions that they have, because there's no options ever with their cruise line. And I love that they've partnered up with another family-owned company. I really love small businesses. I love family-owned companies. And I think that that's just great that they've chosen another family-owned that kind of resonates with what they have and what they do. So that's really phenomenal. And I love that they do that. Next week, I'm going to be meeting with Cindy from Norwegian Cruise Lines, and we're going to be going over some of their extraordinary journeys that they have, just looking at some of their really, really special itineraries that are off the beaten path, that are just something that's just amazing and fabulous to go to. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribed, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.